Welcome back to another episode of Birds, Birds, and Birds. And today we're turning our beaks to the protonotary warbler in Kingfisher Canal. Yes, it is in its appropriate setting of a wetlands or forest region, but where is it to find invertebrates this time of year? I think this bird's goose is cooked. In Wingspan, players take on the role of my dad, studying, admiring, and befriending birds because frankly birds are both weird and cool. Over 4 rounds, you use your action cubes to attract birds to your habitats, then activate those habitats to do all kinds of weird synergistic engine-building bird stuff. With each progressive round, an action cube is lost as you put it on the round tracker, marking your scoring for variable goals. This limits your number of turns, but turns become progressively more elaborate, creating a smooth, satisfying arc, like the luxurious back of a northern flicker. Play continues until 4 rounds are up, at which time players get points for eggs and birds and secret objectives and round objectives and, good Euro-y stuff. Okay. This game is so clever, and that largely comes from the brilliance and fluidity of the 4 actions you can take. On your turn, you take one of your action cubes and you can either use it to play a bird or activate one of your 3 habitats. Now, if you're playing a bird, you simply pick the bird that you want to play, you pay its food cost, you put it into the leftmost spot of its corresponding habitat, and you pay any egg requirement that is for that column. But if you want to activate one of your habitats, you take that cube, put it in the leftmost space in that habitat, and then you perform the action that corresponds to that space. In the wetlands, you get cards, in the grassland, you get eggs, and in the forest, you get food. But you put it in there, you resolve whatever the action is, and then your cube works backwards, resolving optionally each of the brown bird powers in that row until finally your action is done. And this is incredible! Immediately, as soon as you have 2 or 3 birds in a row and you see the actions work sequentially, you start thinking of all the clockworkian possibilities that you could make in this game. Not only are there a ton of synergies that you can have between your birds, but also the more birds that you have in a row, the more powerful the default action of that habitat is going to be. Take the grasslands, for example. Normally it just generates 2 eggs, which are valuable points but also resources needed to place birds further up in each habitat. Add in a common raven and suddenly each turn you are adding 2 eggs and can spend any food token for another egg. Then discard an egg from another bird to get 2 food of your choice. Throw a Franklin's Goal on top of that, now you're just straight up getting 3 eggs, can discard an egg to draw 2 cards, then discard an egg to get those 2 resources of your choice, likely informed by the birds you just drew. That's not to say birds all add to your synergistic resource collection mastery. Some birds have powers only triggered on other players' turns, and some might just be big fat points or have one-time effects for entering play, like getting more resources, playing additional bird cards, or even drawing new bonus cards. Speaking of bonus cards, there are a couple other feathers in this bird's cap, or wings, or some more applicable metaphor. First off, players draw a couple objective cards to choose one from at the beginning of the game. You can actually get more of these through certain birds as the game goes on, but it's a nice bit of secret information that gives you a sort of sub-objective to work towards apart from the end of round goals. And then there's the clever little bird feeder, which I'll admit, it's somewhat indulgent to have a dice tower in your game, but it is aesthetically pleasing as well as functional because it separates the dice that are available in the pool versus the ones that are not usable. Whenever a player gets to take food from the feeder, they just remove one of the dice and take the corresponding food token. However, if they ever go to take food from the feeder and there's only one type of food shown, then they get to take all the dice and then put them in the back, re-rolling all of them, giving them new options. This is a super creative way of having random elements in your game, but giving players choice and options to work with. That said, I do wish a similar care were put towards these bird cards. The last real system in the game is whenever you draw cards, you take them either off the top of the deck or from the 3 cards on display. Sure, you got plenty of choices to make here, and yes, the bird cards on display are discarded and refreshed at the end of the round, but I've seen entire rounds go by where no one wanted the cards on display, and players were just stuck drawing off the top of the deck. This isn't terrible, as pretty much every card has a use and a function, but it means that this is an engine builder where you have to work with what you get rather rather than working with what you want. In a game that is otherwise all about impressive elegance, this somehow just felt kind of okay. But that's enough about the kind of okay stuff, because this game is really awesome, and it's been one of the best first impressions that I've had with a board game in a long time. It's fun, it's gorgeous, it's intuitive, and it is very approachable, while remaining a fascinating network of choices and interactions, kind of like an ecosystem, which means it's a good time to talk about theme. I'm Alaskan, so that means that I've spent the majority of my life surrounded by some of the most magnificent natural habitats on the planet. And I am literally surrounded by wildlife all the time. From the bears that are jumping my fence after stealing my crab apples, to the beavers slapping their tails in my general direction, to the ravens holding court in parking lots, always judging me. So yeah, I was expecting to like this theme, but I didn't expect just how much. Every bird card in this game is unique, featuring lavish illustrations and packed with tons of little details. Each could be a page out of an Audubon Society book. But more than anything else, so many of the birds' powers have some sort of thematic resonance based on their real-life behaviors. From the horned lark, who mixes flock with other bird species, to the golden eagle, who flips over cards from the deck, eating anything with a wingspan under 100 centimeters for extra points. This game just does it for me. As a huge fan of engine builders, it gives me the satisfaction of a much broader game within a slimmer, more welcoming shell. It's consistently engrossing, and thanks to some really smart decisions involving the wealth of round-end scoring objectives that are randomly drawn from, including stuff like eggs in certain types of nests and birds in certain habitats, to the 2 different game modes and how to score those objectives, from the normal competitive ranking side to the variant less competitive I got this many of this thing side. Not to mention the oodles of secret goal cards, there's a ton of replayability where every game has you reprioritizing the values of each individual bird. But I'm not saying this game is perfect for everyone. This is one of those games where you might just finally feel like you got your engine running and then the game ends. And just like the Animal Kingdom, it can be harsh. This is a game that relies on you being flexible, tactical, and seeing the value in every feather. If you were going in wanting to focus on a specific strategy and not rolling with what you get, well, then you might find that you got some clipped wings. Furthermore, some combos, like my self-sufficient egg food card draw bonanza from earlier, feel extremely powerful, and they feel really good when you have them, but a little bit less so when it's your opponent rocking the grasslands every turn. But for us in my group, it has just taken us by storm. Even with all of my expectations, it has been one of the most surprising and immediately rewarding games that I've ever played. Wingspan is inviting, it's clever, it's uniquely beautiful, it has a great solo mode, and it's an absolute delight. I love this game, and good on designer Elizabeth Hargrave for one hell of a debut. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching the review. If you are interested in the solo mode, I'll have a solo specific review addendum up soon, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.